Good afternoon, my name is Catherine Caudill, and I was assigned case study number 4, the geological engineer. The ethical question and decision I'll be analyzing today is it ethical to conduct an analysis and report misinformation when there's a conflict of interest present? Essentially, in this case, there was a gas leak, and then there was controversy over the source of the gas leak and whose fault it was. Today we will go through the details of the leak, the details of the investigation, the controversy behind the investigation, and we will run our essential question through virtue ethics to see if the decision was ethical. I'll provide some potential objections, then I'll conclude, and my references are at the end. So, the leak began. An elementary school was evacuated after firemen discovered a gas leak that amounted to explosive levels of vapors. So, a high volume of gaseous vapors was located near a school, and the school was evacuated. So they had to run and find out where the source was because they just saw the incoming levels and reports. And state officials hypothesized that the leak resulted from a nearby storage facility. Note that this facility was located north of the school, and the gas had seeped in through groundwater, and that's how the school was receiving the levels of gas. The owners of this facility, however, denied that they were the source of the leak, and they hired their own consultant to run an analysis. In this investigation, the hired consultant from the facility found that a gas station could be a potential second source, but note that this gas station was located west of the school. The state's consultant found a clear connection to the storage facility, however, so there was some opposing beliefs here. Other places, such as the EPA and a second hired consultant, also deemed it the storage facility's fault. The controversy here is that the hired firm showed a map that did not indicate the presence of the hydrocarbon gas leak, despite monitor wells that were around the area indicated. But however, the state firm in the other places, such as the EPA and the second hired firm, indicated a high presence of this hydrocarbon concentration near the school. Also, the state determined that it would take 16 months for the gas to mitigate to the school, which is accurate to the time frame. However, both firms, the hired state and state firm, concluded that the water must flow down gradient toward the school, which means it must come from the north, the direction of the storage facility. So the main controversy and ethical decision here was the hired firm stated incorrect information, which they knew was correct from the monitor wells. They reported incorrect information without the knowledge of the owners, so their client did not know. And this is perhaps due to the conflict of interest, as they were the ones defending the accused and the scrutinized company, and they didn't want to get them in trouble, maybe perhaps to keep good relations with said company. Okay, so this decision brings forth the codes in question. There's several, even laws. So from an engineer standpoint, as this is a geological engineer, they violated the National Society of Professional Engineers Code 3-3A. Engineers shall avoid the use of statements containing a material misrepresentation of fact or omitting a material fact. They omitted the map stating that the monitor wells showed high levels of the hydrocarbon, and even though they knew it had come from the north, they left out the information that the facility was to the north. As geologists, they ignored the Geological Society of America, Section 3-2. We do not engage in research misconduct, including fabrication, falsification, or plagiarism. They did falsify their findings because they did not report the whole truth. They also broke the engineer's creed, which is the Code of Engineers, to participate in none but honest enterprise. They did not conduct honest and integrable work. As a geologist, they broke the geoethical promise. I will always maintain intellectual honesty in my work, being aware of the limits of my competencies and skills. They did not maintain intellectual honesty. They omitted a large part of the information they had found, which could have caused a lot of harm to the children in the school and people in the surrounding area. Besides their professional and oaths that they took, codes that were applied to them, they also broke the NC law, NC General Statute 89C-21-A2, gross negligence, incompetence, or misconduct in the practice of the profession. This is in regards to engineers and how they should behave in professional malpractice. So according to the NC law, this engineer acted in malpractice, which is liable to litigation and potentially prosecution. So when we run this through virtue ethics, to be ethical under virtue ethics, one must meet the golden means of a virtue. The golden mean being the perfect balance between two vices. These vices are the deficiency and the surplus of the golden mean. So we really analyze the golden mean of integrity and honesty, and the deficiency of integrity is corruption, and the surplus being legalism, where they take it to a too far extreme of being honest, where they only feel sworn to like the legal law rather than their own morals. So the context behind this is the hired firm had a conflict of interest as they were hired by the company under scrutiny, so they felt pressure to represent them and prove them innocent. The hired firm released a map that did not indicate the presence of the hydrocarbon concentration, even though all monitor wells indicated the presence of hydrocarbon concentration. So they therefore omitted viable facts that should have been in the report that could have saved lives or time and money, rather than fighting this out and hiring more companies. The hired firm also stated that the flow of the gas had to come from the north, the same direction as the tank, yet they still claimed the gas station was responsible for the leak when it was located toward the west. So again, they ignored that information of the location and where it could possibly come from. They really denied all facts. The hired firm acted corruptly, the deficiency of integrity, by ignoring their responsibilities of codes, oaths, and even law, of having integrity and honesty to avoid the use of statements containing misrepresentation of facts or omitting facts, and falsely reporting the lack of hydrocarbon concentration near the tank due to their connection to the company being scrutinized. Therefore, their decision was unethical. So, some potential objections to this. The hired firm did not follow the rules of the engineering code and presented misinformation, which could potentially be considered illegal malpractice as well as harmful to the public. So from a deontological standpoint, the decision to follow the rules of the code company and the law is unethical. Under deontology, the rules are the rules no matter what. Well, this hired company simply ignored all the rules of their codes, of their oaths, and of the law. The second objection being that the hired firm, as not only engineers but as geologists, they have an obligated relationship to the public's health, safety, and welfare. And by not telling the truth and releasing all the facts and making it a clear-cut case, they risk the harm of the public, as this was explosive levels of gas, and we had gas leaks can cause serious health injuries and even explosions, so they seriously ignored the health of the public. Therefore, from an ethics of care standpoint, where you have a obligated responsibility to someone, they ignore their obligated responsibility to the public, and therefore, again, the decision would be unethical. So, in conclusion, there was a hazardous and potentially explosive gas leak that could have caused serious health risks and explosions, which could have caused property damage, and there was a discrepancy over the source of the leak, so between if it was the hired company or the gas station that was leaking. A hired company was not entirely truthful in their findings, and a second team had to interfere. In the resolution of this case, a second company went back through and looked through the first company's reports, and they found that they just left out this information, even though they had it, to support the company that was being scrutinized. So the second company that went through to check all of the analysis found that they had lied, and they were removed by the facilities management team. So they lost their contract, but in the real world they could have lost their license to practice and even faced litigation. This violated several codes, oaths, and even laws, and it could have led to more serious consequences, as I said, of losing rather than just losing a contract. Under virtue ethics, the hired company acted corruptly, the deficiency of integrity, therefore the decision was unethical. And here are my references.